The title of this video is Mentoring. Mentoring is the notion that one person can essentially direct and change the life. One person has the answers, the other has the questions, the others have the difficulties. One is senior, one is junior. The Roman philosopher Seneca said, "While we teach, we learn." It's when you have to show somebody something that you understand what you know. You understand how to get that information across. All of us need inspiration, and mentoring provides the opportunity to inspire others, to share your stories, and to make a difference in their working lives. As an engineer, you need to be aware of the difference between experts and novices, because most of you will be graduate engineers, and that makes you novices. There are 3 factors involved in being a novice and an expert. One is what guides you. So the first one is rules, knowing all the rules, knowing what to do. I've seen this way of solving this problem before, this is the way to solve it. The second is focus, focusing on the facts. You give an expert a problem, they'll immediately hone in on a particular bit of it, whereas somebody who's just starting out will look at every single component. Experts know what not to look at. Third, somebody starting out will kind of feel like they're an observer. They're just coming into an environment, they're just feeling their way. But experts have seen the entire process, from conception through to failure, from conception due to success. They've seen all of those paths, they've seen all of the bumps along the way, and they see how they're a part of that system and how they can make that chain work. So throughout your career, keep an eye on those things, not just for yourself, but look at those things within your organisation. Find the experts and try and learn from them how they're learning what to ignore. Learn from them what to follow. How did you come up with that idea? What gave you a sense for that? Try and unpack their intuition. So you need to be aware that at different levels, there are actually different ways of seeing. Have those conversations and try and pick that up as quickly as you can, because the movement from novice to expert is only going to help you in your career. It's also important to remember that people at the top often have time to look down. Everybody assumes they're super busy. I once bought a cup of coffee for somebody right at the top of an organisation, and they said, "I really had very little on this week. I'm glad you did that," and were able to share a lot of really interesting stories with me. Don't just assume because somebody is 20 levels above you that they don't have time, because they must be super busy. And they might appreciate sharing their knowledge, sharing their journey with you. It's just like submitting papers to top journals. You assume that they're so hard, so difficult to get into. But the data really shows they're about as hard to get into as anything else. They have about the same rejection rate, apart from a few exceptions. So take the time, have a conversation, and if they say no, they will have forgotten them in 5 minutes. It's not a career-limiting move. Now, from the perspective of a mentor, they get to share ideas, try new skills, and take risks with somebody just starting out. They're translating their strategies, their thoughts, their experience into productive actions. It also allows them to feel a sense that as an expert, that their journey has been worth it. They're able to pass something on, they're able to give back. And it's very fulfilling for a mentor to see that they're able to share some tips and see those tips employed and the results and the fruit of their wisdom actually taking effect. From the point of view of a mentee, they get insight into the pros and cons of various career options. If you talk to a CEO at the top, you might realise that life is definitely not for me. I cannot work 90 hours a week. It gives you increased self-awareness and self-discipline. You get a sense of what it actually took for them to get there. What was their path? Was it all just work, or what did timing and what did having certain people in their lives, what effect did that have? It expands your personal network. They may be able to introduce you to the new people. And it really accelerates your development because you're seeing the difference. You're seeing the contrast. You get a sense of where you are by comparing yourself to somebody else. If you do not have a mentor, you're not going to get any of that. You're not going to develop as quickly. And all of the top universities have very strong mentoring programs with master's students, PhD students, and undergrads. Okay, it's part of the culture that the way to lift somebody up is to have them strongly connected to somebody above them. And most of the CEOs in top companies have mentors as well. It's not something that juniors have. A lot of top CEOs still have mentors. And you should read about mentors of top CEOs and have a look into those relationships. It's really interesting, and seeing the sorts of things they learned from their mentors. What did they apply? You can learn from that as well. Think about that really hard, because as I said, without having that feedback from an expert, it's very hard to grow if you're just focusing on the problems and improving with respect to those problems. All of you will have heard of SMART goals, but have those goals very clearly defined and talk to your mentors about those goals. You know, are they specific? Are they stretching you? Are they making you grow? How are you measuring them? Is it viable? Can it be done? Is it realistic? And when do you think that might happen? So having those goals clearly defined as part of that mentoring relationship is really useful. If you're just having coffee, then you're not actually growing. Know what your targets are. Allow them to keep you on track, keep you focused and moving in the right direction. You want to share those core values with your mentor. It's a combination of teaching, advising and coaching. As a mentee, you need to be humble. You need to listen. You're not the expert, and somebody who's worked in the area for 40 years is going to know a lot more than you, regardless of the amount of study that you've done. Have that attitude that you're going to soak in everything you can. You're going to pursue lifelong learning, and you're going to grow, and you're going to continue to grow. Embrace people that disagree with you. Find out why. What are their assumptions? Why do they think that way? Get behind it. Don't just disagree and move on. Try and think about what's actually going on. If you do have a mentoring relationship, there has to be trust, respect and confidentiality. Whatever you share, whatever they share, don't tell anyone else, okay? If a top CEO is working with you, you cannot share what they say. As they say in economics, low trust, high cost. Non-disclosure agreements and contracts are all about an environment where there's no trust. So you want to have trust with a mentor. You don't want to have any signed documentation. It's an agreement between professionals. Keep it like that. And you don't want to have any conflict of interest with them. And be careful. Again, like papers, be careful about who you're dealing with and how you're dealing with them as a professional. Now, even in the medical field, where they have the see one, do one, teach one philosophy, the see one and the do one. The see one is about the relationship between the student, the apprentice as it were, and the master. So they see the master doing an operation. Now this has changed a little bit over time because there's so much literature around medicine and there's a lot of technology to help. So now it's more see many, do many, and try many. And that's been facilitated by simulation. So you can learn outside the relationship with the mentor, but by and large, it's having that one-on-one relationship, the expert feedback, and showing them that you're actually following through that's going to enhance you as a professional.